On today's episode of Popcorn for Breakfast, we'll be bringing you a spoiler-free review of Roofman, a new movie releasing in theaters this weekend starring Channing Tatum, Kirsten Dunst, Lakeith Stanfield, and many others in a very interesting cast. It's based on a true story and directed by Derek Cianfrance, who's known for Blue Valentine and The Place Beyond the Pines. So we've got a lot to get into. Stefano is here, and we're going to jump into all of that right now. Let's go.
Is Popcorn for Breakfast, presented by St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. Now, here are your hosts, Cam and Kurt.
Welcome back to Popcorn for Breakfast. Thank you guys so much for being here. No Kirk today, despite what the intro says. We've got Stefano here with us. Stefano, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. It's kind of, we were joking in the group chat earlier that it's like all hands on deck this week. Where for whatever reason, like the stars have aligned. We've got a lot of screenings going on, a lot of review content on the website thanks to you, and it's good. It's good to be this kind of busy. We're trying to mix and match to get as much stuff out there as possible. So like Kirk and I saw Tron last night. You and Kirk saw Roofman tonight, but then he wasn't available for the review. I'm seeing Ballad of a Small Player tomorrow, so it's just like all over the board, but it's the right kind of busy.
Totally. October is that month kind of where a bunch of heavy hitters come out, award season's approaching, and a lot to see.
Yes, it's good. It's like we have that lull in September, but then October it starts to heat up, and it feels like good movie watching time. I'm like wanting to throw on some horror movies, wanting to throw on all kinds of stuff. But then we got the subject of today's review, Roofman, which is one on the 2025 release calendar that I personally like. It was not on my radar at any point until like the last, I don't know, let's call it like 6 weeks or so. Have you been tracking this one at all?
I have and I haven't. I think the only reason it was kind of circled in my head was because of Derek Cianfrance's involvement, him directing this. And when Blue Valentine came out in 2010, I know I was 2010, 2011. I know I was like too young for that to fully appreciate that movie, but I remember seeing that along with like Drive the next year. It might be Gosling.
It's the Gosling factor.
Seeing Blue Valentine so long ago just opened up my eyes to what really amazing movies can be and how heartbreaking they can be. So Cianfrance is one who doesn't do too much. You know, he's done a little show directing here. He was part of the screenplay and writing for Sound of Metal, but I appreciate him so much as a filmmaker. So this one I was cautiously optimistic about, but also confused because it didn't really seem like a movie he would direct.
Yeah, I want to get into that for sure because that immediately was something that flagged for me once I started to see the promotional materials and trailers and things like that. It was like, tonally, this feels very different for Derek Cianfrance. But like you said, I mean, he's the kind of filmmaker who lays low enough that whenever his name pops up, you're like, oh, actually, what's going on here? Because he makes some really, really interesting films. So, yeah, I mean, without further ado, let's get into this thing. So we've got a based on a true story movie, an insane story about a guy he's living on top of a Toys R Us, right?
Like he's living within it. So
he's living within it.
Yeah. So basically he gets his title of Roofman because he would break into McDonald's and other places like via the roof. And that's how he would bust in. And then he lived inside of the Toys R Us, basically. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like this big rotunda thing that has signage on it. And he basically found himself living inside there for a bit.
Yeah. That's
absolutely bonkers.
That's insane. And I feel like whenever you hear based on a true story, like that's not the kind of true story that your head goes to. Right. You know, it's like that is a very wacky thing. But this movie also has a really interesting cast with Channing Tatum, Kirsten Dunst. I saw Ben Mendelsohn, Peter Dinklage, Lakeith Stanfield. Like there's a lot of names on there that it's like, wow, I'd be interested to see how that comes together. So typically when we do reviews, we do categories, but you're the only one reviewing tonight. So I kind of want to put the ball in your court and just say, like, where do you want to go with this thing first?
Yeah, I think one thing I definitely want to talk about is basically like tone, screenplay, that kind of stuff. And then I can get into maybe some of the performances as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
The tone and the feel I want to touch on first, because like we were saying, there's this almost confusion of Derek Cianfrance and then what's marketed almost as a comedy, action comedy type movie. And I think there's maybe some whiplash from Materialist that came out earlier this year, which I enjoyed quite a bit. That was marketed as a pretty standard rom com, and that's not necessarily what everybody got.
Yeah.
It ended up being what I expected, knowing who made it. But you kind of get the same here, where we were promised kind of this fun romp, and what I think made Roofman so successful was that there are a lot of elements of that, but it's also very grounded and very, you know, at a surface level, it's a very dark movie when you actually think about what's happening. The visuals maybe aren't as dark as A Place Beyond the Pines or A Blue Valentine, but the subject matter's dark. The ramifications of all of it is very dark, because you have this guy who had, I think, robbed 45 different fast food restaurants. He's
Whoa.
facing 45 years in prison. And in something that I'm not going to count it as a spoiler, because it happens early on and it's kind of known as, he has to end up in this Toys R Us. He ends up there because he does escape from prison. And his prison escape and things like that are played for laughs, which they were great laughs. Like, a lot of it was very funny, very, very, hilariously written. But at the end of the day, he robbed all these stores. He has a wife and 3 kids at home. He is, upending their lives and things like that. So the tonal balance was very, very difficult, but he managed to just knock it out. It was serious, funny, super funny. Like, I think if you see the trailer and you leave that theater laughing as much as you did, I think you'll feel like you got your money's worth if you don't care who the director is. Because a lot of people are just going to never heard of him. They're just going to walk in and see a Channing Tatum movie, and I think you're going to be very
Yep.
pleased with that. And Channing Tatum, I'll get into a little bit in a bit, but like I was saying, there's a lot of figuring out what direction you want to go. But I think he absolutely nails it. Cianfrance, that is. So,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
That's interesting. I mean, that's like, that's kind of what I wanted to hear, because I wanted to make sure we have had a few issues over the years. It's funny you brought up Drive, because that's like one of the most famous like trailer misrepresenting the movie instances that I can think of, where I just remember people going to see that movie and being ticked off. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know who Nicholas Winding Refn was, and I didn't know what the movie was going to be,
Yeah.
but I know when I saw it, I was like, that was absolutely incredible.
Oh,
It blew my mind.
Totally.
But so many people were like, this is not what I was expecting. So
Right.
it's good to hear that, like, if you go into it expecting a comedy, like, you're gonna laugh. And I think actually Channing Tatum is like one of the most underrated comedic actors going right now. I think
Yep.
he's always seen as sort of this like heartthrob, and he has the capacity to go very dramatic in his roles, but he is unbelievably funny
Totally.
as well. Has great timing. So
Totally.
yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I want it to feel like a Derek Cianfrance movie, because I think his movies are like really raw, and like he gets into like really deep thematic elements. But I also was kind of looking forward to the like more light moments as well.
Totally. I was telling Kirk after the movie, like, I can see a version of this movie that gets completely fumbled by, a lesser filmmaker that makes this a PG-13 movie that leans way too much into the comedy. It can be easily be too saccharine. It can be too funny. It could be too, I don't know, soft. Like, I would say
Yeah.
it's not a very, it's rated R for language, but I think making it rated R just like it frees up the movie a bit, so they don't have to like walk on eggshells and try to make it PG-13. So
Yep.
the characters talk naturally, really good dialogue, and I just feel like there's a situation where this could have been an absolute train wreck.
Yep. No doubt. And I give a lot of credit for that to like Paramount. I feel like as I've been going to more screenings and like paying more attention to what studios do to like promote their films and support their films, I've actually gained a lot of respect for Paramount, which is funny because like their IP isn't as flashy as like a Warner Brothers or like a Disney or anything like that. But the way they go about their business seems to be pretty professional. They seem to be pretty good to filmmakers. And now they've obviously merged with Skydance, and they've got like David Ellison coming on board. I mean, Skydance is super well respected in the industry,
Yep.
so they might be able to make some serious noise.
Totally. Absolutely.
All right. Well, so I know you talked a little bit about the writing. Was there anything else you wanted to say about the screenplay?
No, I think that's it. I'll leave it up to, the viewers to kind of see it. I think
Yeah.
you'll see that you kind of grapple with, why are we even watching a movie about this? Like, what's the point of it? And I think one nitpick I probably do have is, there's a little bit of, for a more casual audience, of like tying everything up nicely with a bow
Mm-hmm.
without, it's funny because towards, later on towards the end of the film, I'm thinking in my head, oh man, this is really how this is making me feel. And then there's a bit of a narration that kind of bookends the movie, and you kind of hear that coming out. And I was like, well, yes, that's exactly right. If you were watching this movie, you would understand that's what was happening.
Yeah.
My only gripe, but I feel like, it's a pretty unbelievable situation. I don't know how much of the intricacies are true, like Channing Tatum, in the movie, walked out and about. Like, he was in this Toys R Us, but he was also within the townspeople. And I just want to know, like, how much of that was true, because it's such a, tight situation. It's like,
Yeah.
is this, if this wasn't true, you would be like, what is Cianfrance thinking with this script? Like, this is totally unbelievable. But I think he nails it for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, do you want to get into the performances?
Yeah, definitely. You talked about Channing Tatum, and he was just outstanding. I think the perfect person to play this role. I think when you see like images of the real Roofman and things like that, there's not really a resemblance. I'm sure this man is flattered that Channing Tatum is portraying him,
Right.
but he has the chops for it, because you have to kind of flip a switch of serious, funny, charming. He's all those things in this film. He's something I think we saw in, I wasn't as high on it as you, but in Blink Twice, I think you see some
Mhm.
really phenomenal like physical acting from Channing Tatum in that, just
Yep.
across the entire thing. You see a lot of that here, and he is so good. The supporting cast, you said Lakeith Stanfield, Peter Dinklage, Kirsten Dunst, Ben Mendelsohn out of nowhere. Just like really, like, you feel like you have all this really talented cast, and no one's wasted. Which is what I really appreciate. They all have their moments, and some of the funniest moments come from just throwaway lines from Peter Dinklage. He's this like Toys R Us store manager that takes his job way too seriously, and he just plays it so perfectly. Kirsten Dunst is lovely as ever, really good performance. She's kind of the like most sincere and honest person in the movie, so you kind of need her to hold it down. Really an excellent cast. I was really excited with how they casted it.
So Lakeith was good too, because I've
He
been
was
waiting for
great.
him to get a win.
He was great, and I think maybe this is where he's suited in this, supporting role where, every line and every moment he has is an important one in this movie. He's not just there as some sort of buffer or anything. I think Lakeith is really good in this. It feels like I was saying, with the rated R, like it felt like he was freer. His dialogue was a little more vulgar than most, but I think that's
Yeah.
what made his character relatable, made him charming in this movie. He was really good.
Yeah, when I saw him in that god awful Haunted Mansion movie that Disney did, the live action, I was just like, somebody get this guy a new agent. Like, I'm sure he got a huge payday for that, and all the power to him for that. But he's so talented.
Totally.
I also feel like Ben Mendelsohn out of nowhere could be like the title of an article about the year 2025
Yes,
film,
absolutely.
because of like Freaky Tales. I had the same experience.
Oh,
where
yes.
I was like, what the heck is Ben Mendelsohn doing here? Like,
Absolutely.
what is this?
And actually, my wife reminded me after I got home from the movie, he was also in Place Beyond the Pines, so he's worked with Cianfrance before.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I get the connection there. I would say this is probably the driest his skin has ever been in a movie. No sweating, no sweating at all. But he's like a singing pastor. I don't even know how to describe his role. He's just fantastic. And I think there was some like laughter at him singing, right? Like, because for most people that know Ben Mendelsohn realize like that's played up for laughs, and people are like, why are people laughing at this man just singing in church? But it's good stuff.
Oh man, that's awesome. That alone has me ready to buy a ticket to this one this
Absolutely.
weekend, honestly. All right, what else?
I think that's it. I just wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet and let the folks kind of form their own opinion on it. But I'll say, if you're hesitant to see it, I think it's a crowd pleaser, but I also think it's one that Cianfrance fans will love. I think most anybody would. There's a lot to like in it. It's wholesome in a way, but like I said, it's serious subject matter too. And at the end of the day, in your gut kind of where it's going to end up. And I think the connecting point from this movie and Blue Valentine and Place Beyond the Pines is that Cianfrance likes making movies about forbidden love. And
Mm,
you get that here. And at the end of the day, it's mostly a love story because he does form a relationship with Kirsten Dunst. And I think that's in a lot of the trailer. You kind of see that and you wonder, how does this relationship even form? And a big chunk of that movie is him grappling with his current life situation, Kirsten Dunst, and the impact it has on her and her kids. And it's there's a lot to it, but I think really, really good stuff.
yeah, I mean that sounds right in his wheelhouse. The romantic tension, the family drama, like all of it. It's like that's how he rolls. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Honestly, like just glad to hear it's what I would expect from a Derek Cianfrance movie, even if it has a little bit of different flavor.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we didn't really talk. Like I didn't follow up on your Channing Tatum stuff, but he's so good. He's like, I think in a weird way, I feel like he's underrated because I still feel like there's a lot of people who don't take him seriously.
Totally.
But like and if you notice, like he's a draw for people whenever movies come out. Like people come to see it. Like he just we don't talk a lot about movie stars anymore, but he kind of is one. Like people want to see Channing Tatum. People root for him.
Absolutely. And I think he's picking good roles. And I think he wasn't, thankfully hasn't really fallen into like a lead of a big IP. I know they tried it with G.I. Joe, right? He was in those, right? Or in one of them, I think.
Oh, maybe. I've seen none of them.
No, neither have I. But I'm pretty sure he was kind of going to be the face of that, and thankfully that didn't pan out. So he can start acting in some really good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk score. Where are you at on this one?
Let me pull out my list. I'm between scores. I needed to sit somewhere because I have integrity, unlike one of the co-hosts on this show.
Who shall remain nameless, by the way.
I am going to go, it feels a little high, but I think as I am thinking about it more, I did really, really like this movie. I'm going to go 8.7 on Roofman.
Nice.
Like I said, there's a lot to like. It's a little long. It's 2 hours. There's some areas you can trim it up. Like I said, there was the issue of tying things up a little too nicely, not giving the audience the full responsibility of tying it all together.
Yeah.
But everything else aside from that was a really enjoyable experience. The theater loved it. Like I was telling you before, it was a packed house. So it was a critic screening that also had passes for non-critics as well. So every seat was full. People enjoyed it. It seemed like, so yeah, it was a good time. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So that's another good one to check out if you're somebody who you are not a Tron fan per se, or not interested in that one, or you heard me and Kirk bash Tron and you're like, I don't want to go see that. Roofman is another option for you. Leave the kids at home, check it out. So that's great to hear. Well, yeah, I guess we'll leave it there. We've got, I want to plug all the great stuff you're doing for popcornforbreakfast.com while you're here. So you had a review come out earlier this week about VHS Halloween, which is like that had me like, I have never seen any of those movies. I have to immediately go check those out. Yes. I had no idea that they were like horror anthologies.
Yes, totally.
And that's right where I'm at. And then by the time this releases, your review of Anemone will be releasing. Yes. And that's one I don't think, unless you are super close to film, like nobody's going to look out for that one. But that has Daniel Day-Lewis. Like he's
Daniel Day-Lewis
out of retirement.
Yeah. Out of retirement to make this movie with his son, which is crazy. Yeah, people don't know, but I didn't even know about it. I don't think they even marketed it until since 4 weeks ago was when I first even knew it was happening.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
So definitely go check those out. We got spoiler-free reviews on popcorn4breakfast.com, written by Stefano. Like I said, we have a ton of content going on. We're going to have a lot of reviews still to come this month. There's some big Netflix releases towards the end of the month with The House of Dynamite and Ballad of a Small Player. So keep an eye out. Always check our website or all of our socials if you want to figure out what's going on. You can also connect with us on Discord. The link for that is in the description. It's completely free, so you can be in there chatting with us, but we're easy to reach. Drop us a comment, drop us a line, and we will chat movies with you anytime. But we want to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan. Also want to give a thanks to our title sponsor, St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. And I want to give a thanks to Stefano for being here today and sharing his film insights with us. We will see you on the next one, Stefano, and we will see all of you on the next episode as well. Bye.
See ya. Thank you.